President Trump departs Washington, D.C. and heads to Arizona, where he'll rally thousands of supporters during a Make America Great Again event. Thank you for joining us for News from a Catholic Perspective. I'm Lauren Ashburn. The president will also visit the southern border and speak to veterans in Reno, Nevada. It comes a day after his nationwide address about his plans for Afghanistan, declaring U.S. troops must fight to win. We have team coverage tonight as the president recommits to the 16-year-old war in Afghanistan. Jason Calvi will bring us reaction from the Capitol. Wyatt Goolsby will tell us how the world is reacting, but we begin at the White House with correspondent Mark Irons. This is a reversal of his past calls for a speedy exit, isn't it?
That's right, Lauren. Last night he mentioned his original instinct was to pull out of Afghanistan, but he says becoming president has changed his viewpoint. He did not disclose too much information about the strategy, saying to publicize details would be counterproductive. He said micromanagement from Washington, D.C. does not win battles, and he's giving more authority to his military commanders to make decisions. President Trump is vowing to win America's longest war.
Our troops will fight to win. We will fight to win.
In a 26-minute primetime speech, the president unveiled his new strategy in Afghanistan.
Victory will have a clear definition: attacking our enemies, obliterating ISIS, crushing al-Qaeda, preventing the Taliban from taking over Afghanistan, and stopping mass terror attacks against America before they emerge.
The president says the U.S. will shift away from a time-based approach and instead focus on results and cooperation with the Afghan government. He insists it will be a regional strategy.
Our commitment is not unlimited, and our support is not a blank check.
But the president offered few details about how progress would be measured, and he did not address the number of troops being deployed or how his approach differs from that of his predecessors. Still, the president is garnering praise. Some military experts say Trump is smart to give authority to U.S. forces on the ground.
He's not trained in military science. That was one of the weaknesses of the Obama administration, is that they put very tight restrictions on not only how many troops, but where the troops could go, how close they could get to the front. This is a matter of national security and self-defense.
Today we are learning more details about the president's strategy. That could involve sending up to 3,900 additional U.S. troops, according to senior officials. Lauren?
When can we expect those troops to start deploying?
The top U.S. commander for the Middle East says the first new forces will arrive in Afghanistan within days or weeks. They will include a combination of trainers, security forces, and other support troops.
Days. Wow. Thank you so much, correspondent Mark Irons at the White House. Top lawmakers join the debate over the president's Afghanistan proposal, and some slam it for being vague. Others say the message was long overdue. Capitol Hill correspondent Jason Calvi brings us that congressional reaction. Good evening, Jason.
Good evening, Lauren. Speaker Paul Ryan praises the new military strategy, calling it the new Trump doctrine. He says he's glad the president took the many months to come up with a long-term plan instead of a year-by-year approach. Ryan says the aim of all of this is to keep all of us safe.
We cannot allow another safe haven for terrorists to materialize again.
Speaker Paul Ryan says President Trump's strategy protects America and its interests.
I think it's important when it comes to our blood and our treasure and our soldiers and our safety that we actually have a comprehensive doctrine that we apply.
Senator John McCain also praises the president. He's been critical of Trump in the past, but when it comes to Afghanistan, McCain says the president took a big step in the right direction. He writes, "The president is now moving us well beyond the prior administration's failed strategy of merely postponing defeat." But the top Democrat on the Armed Services Committee, Senator Jack Reed, says the president was vague and short on the details our troops and the American people deserve. Republican Senator Rand Paul goes further, saying the Afghanistan mission has lost its purpose. He opposes sending more American troops to the country. Republican Governor John Kasich agrees, saying 16 years and more than 2,000 American lives lost are enough. He writes, America cannot afford to make an open-ended commitment of further lives and treasure to the improbable proposition of building a cohesive nation in Afghanistan. But Speaker Ryan defends Trump's strategy. He criticizes the Bush and Obama administrations for not having a longer-term plan.
We should have a conditions-based strategy, not a timetable-based strategy. I think that defeats the purpose, having had a timetable strategy. I think it telegraphs to our enemies, wait us out.
A Senate committee will get right to work reviewing this new Afghan strategy when they return from their August break next month. This current war in Afghanistan rests on the congressional authorization given after 9/11. Senator Rand Paul wants to pull the plug on that and force Congress to vote on the presidential power to wage this war. Lauren?
Do lawmakers want war?
Well, Senator John McCain says that this is needed. He's praising the president. We've also seen other lawmakers here on the Hill saying it's time to back out of Afghanistan, as you heard there from Senator Rand Paul. Now, Senator McCain does have some advice for President Trump. He says the president really needs to start acting as a wartime commander-in-chief. He needs to speak regularly to the American people, telling them why we're waging this war and why the sacrifice is worth it.
Correspondent Jason Calvi at the Capitol. Thank you, Jason. President Trump's speech is drawing mixed reaction from around the world. Close allies hope his new strategy will be a turning point in the war. Others say Trump's tough talk will have negative consequences. Correspondent Wyatt Goolsbee joins us from the State Department, where Secretary Rex Tillerson just wrapped up a press conference. Good evening, Wyatt.
Good evening, Lauren. Secretary Tillerson is striking a much more diplomatic tone today. He says the United States will look to the international community, particularly Afghanistan's neighbors like Pakistan, to support the peace process. It's a contrast to President Trump's tone, who accused Pakistan and went hard on them of giving extremists a safe haven.
Pakistan must adopt a different approach, and we are ready to work with them to help them protect themselves against these terrorist organizations, but certainly to begin to end their attacks that are disrupting our efforts at peace.
Secretary of State Rex Tillerson today telling the press Pakistan can be an important partner in working towards peace and stability. Others in the Trump administration, like UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, echo the president's message.
This is not just about Afghanistan. This is about the region. And so that means that we've got to put the pressure on Pakistan. They can't safe harbor terrorists anymore.
Many Afghans are welcoming the president's shift in strategy, including the war-torn country's second most powerful official.
Our message as Afghans to our neighboring countries has been that our hands of friendship is extended.
But not everyone agrees. Analysts in Pakistan warn that isolating Islamabad could increase the influence of Russia, China, and even Iran.
Whether this is the war strategy or the negotiation, Pakistan cannot be ignored. And if they think the one nation can do it only while threatening them and pressurizing them, I think this is not going to be work.
China, for its part, is defending Pakistan. The two countries have close economic, political, and security ties dating back decades, based partially on their shared distrust of India. The Taliban is vowing to continue the fight while U.S. forces remain in the country. They're dismissing Trump's remarks, saying his policy outline is unclear. Helping in the fight against the Taliban is NATO. More than 12,000 troops from NATO and partner countries are helping train Afghan security forces. The organization's Secretary General says they support President Trump's new strategy and are committed to increasing troop levels in Afghanistan. Lauren?
There's one big question, and today did the media press Secretary Tillerson on the exact number of additional troops the U.S. will send to Afghanistan?
Yes, they did, Lauren. Secretary Tillerson was pressed multiple times today during this afternoon's press conference as to the exact level of additional troops the U.S. will send to Afghanistan, but he didn't budge. He did not want to give any range of troop levels here. And he says it's actually part of the strategy. He reiterated the fact that the Taliban is a very deceptive enemy that doesn't indicate when they're going to attack or with how many people. He says he wants to make sure the United States does the same. Lauren?
Correspondent Wyatt Goolsbee at the State Department. Thank you, Wyatt.